Just fantasy baseball. Colby Olson, Clay Snowden, the best duo in the fantasy baseball game. What's up?
Hey, Colby's fired up today. I am wearing this shirt that I swear is not as blue as it looks. This looks like the Marlins old school blue almost with how bright this is. It has something to do with this camera. I I'm a little bit, weary about wearing this again on camera now.
Yeah, are you wearing sandals too? That looks like a shirt you'd wear with some sick
Going to a
sandals.
Jimmy Buffett concert or
Like,
something,
no,
right?
it is. It looks like you're going to Margaritaville.
I wish, man.
And
I
like
wish.
some really ugly plaid shorts too to go with it. Like nothing makes sense about that outfit underneath. Like we see the shirt, but then below, I think there's some fun going on.
I'm wearing jeans. I'm at my
Uh,
job, just
all right.
cranking it up. I
Well,
do have some news and notes for the people to go over.
let's do it, man.
Okay. Try to do this in 2 minutes or less. A lot to get through today. Trevor May starting to pick up some saves for the Oakland Athletics, who have won a lot recently. Could be an option to pick up for short term if you're in desperate, dire need of saves. I think he gets moved at the deadline and will not be a closer. So if you want to tap into the Trevor May saves, do it now. Alec Boehm's back in Philly after being injured for a while. Pete Alonso's out. Vientos starting to get some playing time finally, forcing Buck's hand to actually play him for a change. Joey Votto on his rehab assignment, not looking good. Luis Matos, he just got called up from the Giants, was killing it in the minors. Liam Hendricks injured, terrible news. Looks like it could be a while for him. Vinny P, our guy, Vinny P, out for the year. Yordan Alvarez going to miss up to 6 weeks. That's huge for that Houston lineup. Carlos Rendon starting rehab assignments. Nick Lodolo out until August. McCullers out for the year. Jose Quintana starting a rehab start. Tarek Skubal should be back soon. Pick him up. We've talked about that. And Matt Manning starting a rehab assignment. Colby, what do you think of those news and notes?
Can I say a blazing hot take to start today's episode?
Let's do it.
Blazing hot. And we were going to talk about this player anyway later. Jordan Walker is just Mark Vientos with better PR. And here's the reason why. You go to hard hit rate, 59% for Vientos. You go to Jordan Walker, since he got called back up, 62% hard hit rate. Max exit velocity for Vientos, 115. Jordan Walker can get it up to 115. And guess what? They both have a problem with hitting too many ground balls. Jordan Walker, since getting called back up, has a 58% ground ball rate. Vientos is sitting at a 53% ground ball rate. But guess what? They both can barrel the ball, but Vientos has a 15% barrel rate. And yeah, he looks really bad right now. He has a 178 average. But guess what, Clay? A 353 expected WOBA. So the batted balls he's putting into play are actually really good, but no way a 226 BABIP for Vientos is sustainable. So yeah, I say buy Vientos, and I like what Jordan Walker's doing right now too. But seriously, Vientos is basically doing what Jordan Walker's doing, but getting some unlucky stuff.
How many events, batted ball events, does Vientos have for these stats?
32 events.
Okay. I was just curious.
And Walker's
Interesting.
probably right around there too. But
Yeah,
that's a crazy take, probably. But I don't think so. Like, I think they're closer than you think.
interesting. Interesting. All right. Yuri Perez. So I last night I'm watching his start, and I have him on my team. And I think, okay, I'm gonna sell high right now on him. And I try to talk to this person about a trade, and he tells me Perez could be going down. And I did not see that news like earlier in the day or the day before. So I look like a scumbag trying to sell the guy who could be going down. But in reality, I just did not know that. Do you think Perez, here's my thing. I get it. He's super young. They have the inning restriction on him. It is so hard, and I want to take emotion out of it if I can. But like, if I'm a Marlins fan and our best performing pitcher gets sent down when he's playing this well in a race that they could actually be competitive this year, like, man, that just sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sucks. But this is where being the general manager or decision maker for a team is different than being a fan of a team, right? You have to have the interest of the long-term success of a franchise on your mind and not just, oh, we beat up some crappy teams and we have a winning record, so let's run our 20-year-old phenom into the ground for really no reason. Like that, at the end of the day, if they run him into the ground and yeah, maybe they make a wild card spot, but like at what gain for him to throw 130, 140, 150 innings when he's not ready to do that? I don't think you're in a position where you can put your best prospect in harm's way just to like stay in a wild card race.
So what do you do as an owner if you have Yuri Press? Do you just ride it out? Do you drop him when he gets sent down? Like, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I would say let's follow the news here. I mean, he pitched amazing last night. 2 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts over 6 innings. Just a masterful, the best start from Yuri yet. And really showed that he is, the best pitching prospect in baseball right now. But I guess you just follow the news. Like if he gets sent down and they announce that he's probably going to be sent down until August, like, yeah, I think you got to drop him, man. You can't just because you're not going to be able to stick him on your IL. He's just going to be in the minors. So yeah, I mean, I think you're in a position where, you just ride it out for now, but yeah.
We did not mention exactly what we'd be focusing on today. I'm just now
I have
realizing.
one other piece of news though.
Okay.
Actually, I do want to talk about Jordan Walker briefly again. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but
we're going to talk about him.
Okay,
We're going to
we'll talk about it because I gotta elaborate on that. I went too heavy on Vientos Walker too quickly, but we'll talk about it. Julio Urias is making a rehab start soon. He's throwing live bullpens this week. I think he's actually a really good buy low candidate right now, coming off the IL. But I dug deep and I was like, mentally, I was like, oh, I think Julio Urias is one of those guys that usually just comes along late in the season. Dude, his numbers from first half to second half are insane for his career. For his career, he has a 3.58 first half ERA, a 3.98 first half FIP. In the second half, he has a 2.02 second half ERA and a 3.01 second half FIP. Like he turns into a different pitcher in the second half. So him coming off of, and it's not like he's coming off of an arm injury. He's coming off of a hamstring injury. Yeah. I say buy him. Why not? Like he wasn't pitching that well before he went down with injury. He's been on the shelf. Like somebody's probably itching to get rid of Julio Urias.
Yeah, I like that. I have him on my team, so I'm not going to be trading him. But today we're going to be talking about players trending up and trending down. And it's really a who's getting picked up most in ESPN leagues and who's getting dropped the most in ESPN leagues. Now, I left out players who are getting picked up that are owned in 60% of leagues because we're not going to talk about them. They're already owned, like no need to talk about them. Left off some players who I think are just being picked up for streamers or whatnot. So it's 5 players that are getting dropped the most, 5 players that are getting picked up the most, picked by me more or less. So do you want to do trending up first, the players that are getting picked up?
Yeah, let's talk about fun things.
All right, let's talk about the first one. Brian De La Cruz, outfielder, Miami Marlins. The last month, he has batted 270, 342, 470 with 5 home runs. He's had a tough week. Are you buying it?
I buy it, man. Yeah, if you go even further than that, since May 1st, he's hitting 297, a 22% strikeout rate, and I think the biggest tell for this being real is that he has a 28% line drive rate. Like if you're hitting that many line drives, good things are going to happen. And his swing is he has a good 2-strike approach. I know he's been striking out a ton over the last week or so, but that just happens to guys. I wouldn't read too much into that. But yeah, I'm buying it, man. He's been producing all year.
Do you know who has a line drive rate of 23% and is not playing particularly well? All of his stats look good. It's Spencer Torkelson, who did have 2 home runs. Recently wrote about him, so he's on top of my mind right now.
Can you talk about that? Like, can you give actually, this is perfect. I want you to talk about Spencer Torkelson, talk about your article a little bit, and like tell us what's going on there.
So I decided I'm going to write about Spencer Torkelson and why his power numbers on Savant, everyone's talking about he hits the ball hard. Like, why is it not translating? This is a guy with a 23% line drive percentage, and he's only hitting ground balls at 32%. Like, why doesn't it translate into more power? And I thought it would take like 2 hours. I spent like 6.5 hours writing this because I watched every single batted ball from him this year to try to pick up something. it pretty much boiled down to he's not lifting the ball enough. 15% launch angle looks, pretty good, but that average is so strange how it kind of came out. And the best balls that he hits are at like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-degree launch angles. And I used a calculator that Savant has where you can drag 100 miles per hour exit velo, 15-degree launch angle, and the home run percentage is like, 0 or 2 or something. And then you bump it up 2-degree launch angle more to like 17 or even up to 18. And it's incredible how much more expected home runs are if you just change the launch angle by a degree to 3 degrees. So there's a couple things. There was launch angle, potentially some topspin on the ball. Like that was something I looked into and saw in some of the batted balls that I watched. And Aram also was talking about that with me. So an interesting player. Past 2 days, 2 home runs, both 25 to 30-degree launch angles, I believe, or 23 or something like that. So obviously he read my article.
No, that's
that
what I was
has
going to
been,
say. You think he read
yeah,
it?
he read the article. It's very, very obvious. He said, "Man, that Clay guy is pretty smart. I- I'm gonna I'm gonna start lifting the ball a little bit more, just like he said."
Can I be real with you though? I know you're joking, and he probably didn't read it. I'm not
There's
saying
no way.
that, but I think you would be surprised sometimes how many how these teams do read what things are being put out by Fangraphs, by like intelligent people in the world. Like they're looking at things sometimes.
I would be embarrassed if he read my article. But let's move on. Let's move on. Brian De La Cruz. I like him. I've always liked him as a player. I don't think he's like somebody who I'm like picking up in a 10-man and dropping a player that's maybe more proven. I do like him. And if you need an outfielder, I think it's a good spot. I'm just not like rushing to get him. Next guy, Mauricio Dubon. Off the top of your head, without looking, what do you think Mauricio Dubon's um I guess I think it was B War. I don't remember if it was Fangraphs or Baseball Reference I looked at, but guess what his WAR is this year?
Well, I was just looking at his player page. So I believe his F WAR was like 1.5 because his defense is just so sick.
He's 1.8. It's crazy. So I guess it was B War, yeah. I just found that interesting. He's slashing 296, 322 with 3 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Bat to ball guy. I think people are picking him up because more or less like you can play him at several positions, and second base is a position that a lot of people need. I don't like him as a fantasy player. I think he's done well enough this year to like kind of add some stats to if you search by, points league, most points. Like I just don't love him as a fantasy player.
Yeah, it's basically just if you want average, then
Yeah.
Dubon works great for you because he pretty much provides close to a 300 average with nothing beyond that. He's not stealing a ton. He's not driving in a ton of runs. He doesn't really do much outside of average, which sometimes can be helpful. Like if you're in a thin league and especially at a thin position like that, you have some injuries, like great plug and play guy, I think. Clay, you know who drafted Mauricio Dubon? He's been around the block.
I know he was with the Giants. Who drafted him though? Was it the Yankees
It was the Boston Red Sox.
or Boston Red Sox? Okay.
Traded him to the Brewers, then he went to the Giants, and now he's with Houston. But yeah, it's pretty insane following him since he was like a 19-year-old
Yeah.
prospect, like, and now 10 years later he's providing some value to the Astros. But shall we move on?
Yeah. Do you want to introduce the next Yankees pitcher?
Not really. No, I don't. I really, frankly, don't even want to talk about this guy. Domingo Herman is third on this list for most picked up recently, and it's not surprising because in his last 7 starts, he has a 2.21 ERA, and for the most part has been good. But Clay, I don't like the guy. Like beyond the domestic violence stuff, he's doing. He had all the stuff with the rosin this year. And frankly, he's just not a good pitcher. Although he has a 2.21 ERA over his last 7 starts, he's a 3.74 FIP. Excuse me. In his last 2 starts, he was amazing against the Red Sox and the Dodgers. A 100% left on base percentage. Not one batter that he let on base scored. And the only runs he gave up were 2 solo home runs. Not
That's wild.
sustainable. That's not sustainable. So, I mean, my advice to any people that picked up Domingo Herman would be continue to ride the hot streak, but there is a blow up start at the end of this rainbow.
Yeah, he's a guy I always classify as like streamer. If he's playing a good matchup, like I may take that, but not a player that I'm going to
It's also the
bank on.
Yankees, so he picks up wins, but
Yeah, I'm just not going to like bank on him for like I want him on my roster long term. Now the next guy might fit that description. We've talked about him. I'm going to give you the floor. Jordan Walker, just to read his stats off real quick, since being recalled, 326, 396, 512, 2 home runs, 6 Ks, 4 walks, and 43 at bats. Tell us what you think of Jordan Walker, who many confuse with Mark Vientos.
yeah, this is where Colby starts to backstroke a little, but no, I love Vientos. The problem, the big distinguisher between Mark Vientos and Jordan Walker is that strikeout rate. Vientos is striking out 30% of the time. Jordan Walker is striking out since coming back off, or since being recalled. He's striking out 12% of the time, and that is a huge indicator for further success for Jordan Walker beyond his 62% hard hit rate, which is just ridiculous. Yes, he's hitting those balls into the ground. I wish he would hit more line drives and fly balls because there is so much power below the surface for Jordan Walker. But you can't really hate on a guy striking out 12% of the time and hitting 326 with a 343 BABIP. Like that actually looks fairly sustainable. Like on the surface, that looks sustainable, which is insane. So if you held Jordan Walker, congrats. If you picked up Jordan Walker while he was in the minors and just said, all right, I'm going to wait for him to come back up, congrats. And if he's still on your waiver wire, go run and pick him up.
Last guy, give you the floor again, James Paxton.
Dog. James
Dog.
Paxton is a dog. He is, man. Like, and I was so fired up for him returning. And I told you, I'm like, he's going to pitch well in the first game. He did. Pitched well in the second game. I was like, all right, here we go. Then he gets blown up by the Angels in his third start. He went 3 innings, 5 earned, 3 walks, 2 home runs against. And I was like, uh-oh, here's James Paxton. And guess what he does? The next 3 outings, he goes 1.5 ERA, 1.16 FIP, 25 Ks, 4 walks, doesn't give up any home runs. And he faced the Cincinnati Reds, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Colorado Rockies. All 3 of those teams suck against left-handed pitchers. So while I'm super glad that he dominated those teams, I still need to see him pitch against some better teams. But absolutely go have him on your fantasy team right now. He looks like an ace, like legitimately looks like an ace. He's throwing his changeup again. That's getting whiffs. The curveball is nasty. The fastball is performing well. Faces the Yankees this weekend, and pick him up and stream him for that game. Keep him on your roster. Like Paxton is really locked in right now.
Yeah, I do think it's worth it. And I was kind of out on him a few weeks ago, kind of more or less just saying, man, haven't seen anything from him in years. He's been injured. Like, I just don't know, but he's proved it. So we're going to go to trending down. I'll start with the first one.
Hold on a second. We got to talk about So Rare.
Oh my gosh,
we forgot,
yes.
Clay?
My team.
Yeah, how's it doing?
Well, I texted you the exact place so week 1 of my team did not go as planned. I think I came in 918 out of 2,119. So the top half, right? And I did
it's pretty random week to week. Like I've had a couple weeks where I finished like top 100, pretty crazy, but it is random. It just depends.
I got a Garrett Cole card.
Nice.
An award. So good for me, I guess. But
yeah,
So
absolutely
fun, man.
Yeah,
I've updated my team and everything.
Yeah, right now I'm holding out hope that who do I have going tonight? I have somebody going tonight. Not Strider. Ohtani. I have Ohtani going tonight in one of my teams. So he's kind of my last hope to make a push for like the top 30th percent. So should get a good reward out of that. But guys, if you haven't, go check out So Rare, download the app. You can do it on your desktop as well, draft your team, join our league. You collect NFT cards that you can then play in fantasy matchups. And you can play in our league and win cool rewards. So definitely go check it out. This is real talk. I'm starting to enjoy So Rare fantasy like more than my like actual fantasy teams. Like it's genuinely fun, and it's almost a little bit more casual too. So yeah. But let's move on. Guys that are trending down. Let's
Trending
chat.
down, I'll start off. For those of you who don't know, I'm starting to dip into the Detroit Tigers as well, which is probably why you hear me talking about them a little bit more. It's just because I'm more tuned into them. So I want to talk about Alex Lange. He's been dropped in a bunch of leagues recently, and I can kind of see why, I guess, but I would say hold on to him. He has 10 saves this year, a 3.29 ERA. He was dropped because he had back-to-back bad outings. Before those two outings, all year long, he had only surrendered 3 total runs. This is a guy who gets at least a strikeout every single outing. Usually 2 or 3 strikeouts, like nasty stuff. I get why people dropped him. Colby, like the Tigers are not going to give you a ton of save opportunities, but the team is getting healthier. Like they're getting better. I don't think that they're going to be on these L10s like they just were. Like, I think they're going to give you enough save opportunities that Alex Lange will have value. So I'm not dropping him yet.
No, I mean you can't drop a guy just for 2 bad outings. It's a long season, and he's performed so well this year that you should have more faith in Alex Lange than just dropping him after. I mean, it was really just 1 bad outing where he gave up 4 earned. Like, for a reliever to give up 2 earned runs every once in a while, it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been dynamite all season long. In his last 2 outings, he hasn't given up, or he gave up 1 run against Arizona. But yeah, man, I'm not worried at all.
The next guy is another guy that I just don't understand why he's being dropped. It's Michaelis, 4.02 ERA. The Ks are down. I guess my thing with him is last year he had a good stretch, and I think people thought he was a different pitcher than he actually is. Why I don't understand why he's being dropped is because if you drafted him, you should have had the expectation of like this is what he is. Like I'm not surprised by his stats at all. Like kind of a middle of the road slash number 4-ish type numbers. Like I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's terrible. I think people drafted him thinking he was going to be better than what he actually is. So I would say, like, if that was your expectation, drop him if there's somebody else on your waiver wire. But I think he's an okay option to just have at the end of your rotation.
Yeah, man, I can't really think of a reason why you'd want to drop Miles Michaelis. Like, yeah, he had a blow up start against Cincinnati where he gave up 5 earned. But outside of that, including that start, his last 9 starts, he has a 2.44 ERA, a 3.09 FIP. I mean, this is also a pitcher that goes 7 innings, 8 innings with regularity. Nobody's doing that anymore.
Who
And
are you
that
picking
certainly
up
has
instead of
value.
him? You know what I mean?
What was that, sorry?
Like, who are you going to be dropping him to pick up?
I
Like,
don't I don't know. There's so many bad pitchers out
I
there.
know.
Maybe Garrett Whitlock.
Yeah, and as we said before, like this is ESPN dropped. Like it's not necessarily like who we think obviously should be dropped, but a lot of people see, man, should I drop this guy or not? Well, 20% of people in other leagues are dropping him. I guess I will too. You know what I mean? So do not drop him. The next guy I know we both don't want to drop is Bryce Miller. He had back-to-back outings of 7 and 8 runs, and people were like, oh, the rookie's done. Like all gone. Like he was dropped in like 20% of leagues. And if he was dropped in your league and somehow is still available, I would be running to pick him up. Comes back with 6 innings of 1 hit, 1 run ball with 6 strikeouts. We have seen the flashes. 6 out of his 8 starts have been quality starts. Why are people dropping this guy? In fact, I would even trade for him. That's how confident I am in him.
It still does irk me a little bit that he throws his fastball so much. Like he's throwing it over 70% of the time. So that's a little scary. And just to give some context to his Marlins start, it was a great start. But the Marlins don't hit four-seam fastballs well. Like if you go by their lineup, four-seam fastballs,
It's not a
like
good thing to not hit well, Colby.
it's not a good thing to not hit four-seam fastballs well, and they really don't. But agreed, man. It's so unfair to like give up on him after two disaster outings, and one of them was against Texas, and nobody pitches well against Texas. So yeah, I mean, like I'm not giving up on Bryce Miller anytime soon. The stuff is too good, despite him throwing so many fastballs. That fastball is electric.
The next guy I think you can drop, and a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
people picked him up. It's Taylor Walls. I think a lot of people picked him up because he showed some power early. Neither one of us, when we talked about him last, were really like buying into it, but he had positional flexibility. Like I could see why somebody would want him, especially in a deeper league. The past month, he's batting 113, 241, 155. This guy is embarrassing himself out there at the plate. Holy crap, Taylor Walls. I'm dropping him. I didn't pick him up, but if I had him, he's gone. I'm picking up all kinds of players before him right now. And he
Taylor
plays for the
Walls.
Rays, so you never know about his playing time.
He might be building some walls soon, man. Like that is really bad. And if you go back to May 1st, 156 average. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, this is who he was last year as well. Like that flash of okay, he had a good April where he was hitting the ball in the air and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Taylor Walls." I think that's done. We can just move on, I guess, from
Yeah, we don't even have to talk about him. Drop him. Nolan Gorman. Before we get into all of his numbers, I think this guy's just going to be a streaky hitter. Like I just feel like that's how it's going to be with him. There's going to be times he's going to get out there and hit 4 home runs in a week. And there's going to be times he puts up months like he has put up here. 198, 271, 395, 5 home runs. That's good. 38 strikeouts and 86 at bats. 38 strikeouts and 86 at bats. It's really tough to roster a guy like that, especially in a points league where you have negative points for strikeouts. Colby, what do you do with Nolan Gorman?
I don't know, man. I like to me, if this is a bad month for Nolan Gorman, that I'm like pretty pleased, honestly. Like over the last month, yeah, you say he has a 228 average, 6 home runs, 19 RBIs. Like if that is a bad month for Gorman, that is still serviceable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? He's still, especially if like the power numbers are still there, and you know what a good month of Gorman is because he showed that in the first month. He's still getting on base, still hitting the ball in the air. Like, I don't know if I'd be super like in a shallower league. Yeah, you can go ahead and drop him, but
There's 2 things at play here. It depends. This is the type of player that really depends on your league. Like if you're in a points league and you're getting negative 38 points, that is so difficult to roster. Other thing I play is like, do you think the Cardinals are going to bounce back? Do you think that this team will be better and overall his run production could tick up? You know, playing on good teams matters. The Rangers have a lot of roster players in fantasy baseball because of that. So it kind of just depends on where you sit. But Nolan Gorman, I'm on the fence. Like I said, league dependent. Now we have streamers to get to.
wait, but like just to finish up on Gorman for a second, like I don't know, he's still doing what he did in that first month. 47% hard hit rate the last month, 13% barrel rate, still hitting the ball in the air. And he's hitting third in this order. So like I'm still in. Don't hold tight on Gorman. That's my final say.
Streamers quickly. Mine is Griffin Canning, a guy who I'm actually just a big fan of, and I have no idea why. Listen now, at Kaufman going up against the Royals.
Yeah.
They just lost Vinny. Perez got injured last night. He's kind of like day to day. Like I don't know what that looks like for Saturday when Canning is pitching against them. He's a fine streamer guy. He's the type of guy that can sneak in some strikeouts for you too. I think this is going to be an easy win. 5, 6 innings, 2, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts. Let's see it.
Griffin Canning and Cal Quantrill give off the same vibes to me. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but I mean, Canning might actually be better than Cal. Sorry, Cal.
He is.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. I looked at this one and I said, yeah, the Royals stink. Vinny P's out. Like, sure, why not? The Angels probably get a win here. I like it, Clay. I am going and fading your Cincinnati Reds with JP France. I see London. I see JP France. I see Ellie De La Cruz's underpants. So yeah, JP France is the owner of a 3.2 ERA over his last 4 starts, a 50% ground ball rate. I'd love a good ground ball guy for a streamer. The Astros should pick up a win here. The Cincinnati Reds do not hit righties well. They don't really hit anybody well, but they've been hitting lefties better than righties actually the last month. So yeah, give me JP France against the Cincinnati Reds. I would also like to add that I gave out Garrett Whitlock as a streamer, and he freaking shoved last night against the Colorado Rockies. 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, a 1 whip, dominated. I also gave Yanni Chirinos. He only went 3 2/3, but didn't give up a run. So I guess no harm, no foul.
One last thing that I just thought of, Gunnar Henderson was dropped in leagues, was owned in about 50% of leagues. I'm in a 10-man league. I picked him up last week, mostly because I had an injury. I was like, I'm just going to take him and see what happens. He has gone off, man. So my question now is, people who have picked up Gunnar Henderson, are you riding it out and just keeping him on your roster, or do you sell high? Selling, I mean, when I say sell high, I mean he's had a week that's been on outer space.
A month.
A month.
You want to hear the stats for the last month?
Well, his past week, he had 4 home runs, I think.
He does have 4 home runs last week. But if you go back a month, 321 with 6 home runs, 3 stolen bases, a 168 WRC plus. He has been going off. And yes, a lot of that is due to his last week, but still, man, he is finally turning it on. He's hitting the ball in the air. He's hitting the ball hard. Like, my question is, if you're selling Gunnar Henderson, what do you get?
So, personal perspective here, he's on my roster. He's in my utility role right now because I have Bo Bichette and Corey Seager. So, my question is, do I sell him for starting pitching? And that's kind of what I need right now, is starting pitching. I love Gunnar Henderson, and he's batting in the top of the lineup against righties. Like, I love watching that team. I might just keep him because fantasy baseball should be fun, as I always say, and he's a fun player. But I might flip him and see if I can get a starting pitcher.
Who would you go get? Let's think about this for a minute, because what do you realistically get for a guy like this? Would you give him up for George Kirby, for example? Is that
I have George Kirby?
Okay, well, you have George Kirby, but even Logan Gilbert, for example.
Yeah, that's
I think that's the type of arm that I would need, though, in return for Gunnar.
Yeah, I've been eyeing Gilbert. I was trying to get Zach Gallen and throw in Yuri Perez. That was the deal I was working last night when I was told Yuri Perez was getting sent down. So I've tried a few different things. I haven't looked too deep into it, but I wanted to get your perspective. I think I might just hold Gunnar Henderson for now and wait until my starting pitching gets healthy and see what happens then. Here's the one thing I'm trying to remind myself, because now's the time where a lot of people make trades. They're kind of sick of their team. They want to shake up. That's me. I made 2 trades last week. Trade deadline's far away. I can wait. I don't have to make trades right now.
It's a tough one, man. I don't hate it if you're getting. It has to be somebody of that ability, though. It has to be a top 20 guy. It has to be somebody you're very confident that is going to pitch well the rest of the season. Because I have confidence that Gunner's going to continue to rake the rest of the season. And another thing that Gunner's been doing the last 4 games is hit leadoff. And that has me excited.
Yeah.
Also,
all right, Colby, send the people home.
Yeah. Sounds good. Just fantasy baseball. That was the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you go make your team on So Rare. I'm not even trying to be the guy that's go do it, but do it. It's so fun. It's so fun. So that's it. Just fantasy baseball. Clay and I will be back next episode. Adios.